since the beginning of that shutdown. With that, we have Caleb Harmon-Marshall is a former TSA officer joining us right now, also a founder of the Gate Access newsletter, which you can see on Substack. Thank you, Caleb. I feel like I've had so many conversations here, I guess for obvious reasons, this week about how long something can last and when there's going to be a tipping point. But these are real people in the United States that are probably at or maybe even over that tipping point.
They are far over the tipping point. I have so many TSA officers in my DMs on social media right now telling me how they are stressed out, how they're financially strained, their cars are getting repossessed, they are getting evicted. It is very bad right now. And they want to make it clear that this government shutdown is 100% real. Many travelers are going to the airport and they're asking them, "Are you really not getting paid?" And they have to keep reminding the traveling public, like, yes, this is real. We are not getting paid right now, and we haven't been getting paid for a while. Hi, my name is Caleb Harmon-Marshall, the founder and creator of Gate Access, the travel newsletter that's been featured on the New York Times, the Washington Post, Bloomberg, Travel and Leisure. The list goes on and on. I wanted to come on here and before you watch this mini doc that I actually shot, produced, got all of the people that's in this video together, edited. I did this over the weekend and I knew it was such an important conversation to have and that I had to move fast because we're in the midst of it right now. So I dedicated my whole weekend to producing something that later down the road I'll be proud of. And I want to be clear, I'm not trying to bash TSA. I feel that it's wrong to keep the officers or whoever wants to talk from speaking their truth. This is the livelihood of these workers. They're actually going through it right now. I've received so many DMs that I couldn't even fit all of the stories into this video. There was a specific situation where it was this TSO, one of the top performers at his airport, and he did not receive the $10,000 bonus reward that they gave to a very select few of officers. He did not receive that because he missed one day of work because they repoed his car. His car was repossessed at the airport. He was leaving work, went to the parking lot where they park, and his car was gone. Dealing with that, he missed the next day of work, and he did not get that reward after sacrificing so much to being at the airport every day. It's stories like that that just reminds me of just the unfortunate piece of working at a place where you're supposed to be so highly regarded, yet personally they treat you like garbage. And I think it's important to hear from those officers for them in whoever wants to speak at the agency that's not PR. Because PR, of course, is trained to speak to the media. So they're going to say certain things to the media. I believe everybody should have a voice. You shouldn't be sharing sensitive information, which I have never shared. But the purpose of this documentary is to reflect what's really happening in these officers' lives right now. Thank you so much for meeting with me today to tell me about your situation and how this government shutdown is really impacting you and your family. If you can speak to why this government shutdown is completely different than the others, we would love to hear your perspective.
It's definitely impacted in a negative way, of course, after all of these years and all of these shutdowns, and it's starting to become normal, which is scary.
I mean, thankfully my kids go to school, but obviously I have to buy food and stuff like that for us for, for the week and stuff.
To be called in to go to work, regardless of the situation, knowing that you don't know when you're going to receive payment.
And it's been tough. I don't receive any other type of income. My only income is my job.
It's really impacted me because it's like, okay, I've never worked at a place where it was hard for me to take care of myself and my family.
When you think about your training, did they bring up to you that there could be a potential time in your career that you're not being paid because of government shutdowns?
Never. No, it wasn't a thing back then. Matter of fact, they didn't even have the bill signed in that would guarantee your back pay after a shutdown because it wasn't necessary. That wasn't something that they had to be concerned with.
Everything was like, oh, we're going to impact you guys' life in a great way. And like I said, when I first got there, it was a blessing. I was receiving raises. I was able to get my first home. I introduced my child to the world, who's now 2 years old. All of these things. It was great. But then, like I said, the shutdown happened. And I'm like, okay, well, what is this?
What I've been doing is I've been having to pull out of my savings and using my credit cards and stuff like that. And obviously, once my savings are done, like that's it.
This one, unfortunately, is just maybe a couple months removed from the last one. And I know I can include myself in this. I along with my family, I have two children, two daughters, have a goal of, obtaining a house. And unfortunately, because of this second shutdown, I feel like I've taken personally a few steps back in being able to utilize the money I've had saved working with TSA to put for, let's say, like a down payment for a house or something like that. And now I have to actually utilize that for my grocery bills, for my gas.
This government shutdown is different than the others because this one's the main focus is supposed to be ICE and customs, but it's not. It's putting everyone else in the mix of a fight that has nothing to do with us. And we're supposed to be here protecting the nation's commerce, as they put it, but you're not protecting the people that's supposed to be protecting you. We're supposed to be at work every day, supposed to be smiling every day, supposed to have customer service and hospitality on a daily basis for a job that can honestly, at this point, feels as though they don't care about us. Based on any other government shutdown, it felt as if though we had assistance. This one is like we're totally out here on our own. There is literally no assistance being given to us.
We've received letters saying, hey, give this to your creditors. They don't care about that. They do not care about that.
Georgia Power honestly straight up told me that there is nothing that they can do. They do not accept that letter under any circumstances. The best they can do is put you in for an extension. You don't pay it by the deadline, your lights are being cut off.
Basically, all of us are in a bind. Like, especially for officers like me, I've only been there 3 years. So I haven't had time to stack up money, put money to the side for a rainy day or anything like that. By the time that happens, boom, shutdown happens. So all that money has to go to the creditors.
I work with some coworkers that are still paying off loans, unfortunately, from the last shutdown.
I refinanced a cash flow loan and I had that money. And so that was helping. But then my car broke down. I had to fix that. And so yesterday I came outside and the car was gone. They had repoed my car because I'm still recovering from the first one, trying to make these payments on this car.
So sorry to hear about that repossession. You're not the only one that has shared that their vehicle has gotten repossessed. And I don't think that the general public understands that you guys are still recovering from the last shutdown. I understand that you guys just received a partial check. I think it was a week or two ago.
They took everything out of that check. If you had child support, you had allotment, whatever you had, your health benefits, out of that 1 week check.
Unlike the last shutdown, you didn't take taxes out of it. This one, you taxed it like crazy. What are we supposed to do with that? But we're supposed to be here every day.
So when you got the check, my check was overdrawn. So I was overdrawn by $213. So my check was $60 for a whole week.
I had a coworker, this is a true story, has FMLA. Obviously, my coworker has to take some time off for physical ailments and whatnot. And if the public doesn't know how FMLA works, if you don't have enough hours to cover FMLA, you end up having what's called leave without pay, or LWOP, which you still take the time off, but you're just not getting paid for it. And my coworker got a $9 paycheck 2 weeks ago because of this shutdown. I don't know his or her personal situation, but $9 for the next 30 days, it's not cutting it. Let's not lose sight of the fact that we're also involved in trains, any monorail systems, security, ships. You know, granted, we have CBP that is, I believe they're maybe still budgeted, but not everybody. I know a couple of techs that aren't getting paid as well. So it's a certain level.
It's tough. Like, I don't sleep at night because I'm just like, what am I gonna do? Like, what am I gonna do next week or the week after if this is never coming to an end? Like, it's tough.
As a psychiatric nurse practitioner, you need sleep in order to function. Let's take every other thing outside of it. You need sleep to be able to function and think effectively. So, regardless of someone's intention or not, they don't have the basic needs. And when your basic needs are not being filled, how do you expect someone to even be at a 90%, let alone 100? So, it's scary as hell for me to be traveling, at this time.
Because while I'm over here worrying about if I could take my 4.3 ounce fragrance with me or my 4.3 moisturizer, I'm over here worrying about what else might be slipping through the cracks because everybody is stretched thin. And I think that is what's really not being spoken about is when you have a government shutdown, when you have an opportunity where people are having to show up, because this is one of those needed positions, right? So it's one of those during COVID, healthcare workers still have to show up. People still have to show up. This is one of those jobs where if somebody does not show up mentally or physically, God help us all, because something could happen. And we're our most vulnerable at that point.
Do you think the system is vulnerable right now?
No. At the end of the day, even though we're not getting paid, we're not happy. Management is treating us however they're treating us. We are going to do our job to the best of our ability. And if they're not going to do their job to the best of their ability, they're not going to be there.
We do have a mission and we do have a job to do. And I know it's tough, but also we're doing that job because we want to protect the people. But I do understand, because don't get me wrong, like sometimes I have my moments where I'm like, oh my God, like I can't even think straight.
I can say this. It's a lot of younger people that ain't been there too long. So they might react different than I might react in a situation, and their mind is not focused because of everything that's going on. So yeah, something might slip by. You never know because they're focused on their family and what they're gonna do.
I remember when I started at TSA years ago, I had so much pride. I felt like I was doing something. When we were going through the hiring process, I felt like this is a purpose-driven job. I'm pretty sure you felt that as well. Do you feel differently now?
I do. Not just this, but sometimes I feel like with management and stuff like that, like I sometimes just want to give up and be like, you know what, I'm gonna leave. But then again, I know what I'm here for, but I definitely feel the difference between when I first started and now.
Do you think that TSA will have complications with future officers wanting to be TSA officers?
If this continues, yes. You've got to look back at the years of past administrations. We would have a shutdown, you're talking about a day or so, just because they didn't get something signed in time. But it wasn't that we were being used for their own evil. Now it's become normal. They see that they can do this to get their way. I mean, you got to think we've never had this many in a row, to where it's just back to back to back. And then we've run under a continuing resolution for so long, we haven't even had a steady budget for a couple years now.
When do you think that the traveling public will truly be impacted by this and they will actually see like this is a problem?
Honestly, if we get down to one lane being open, when officers just like really have a backbone and just stop coming, because you coming is not going to change anything.
Why do you think that the general traveling public is unaware of this current shutdown?
Well, you got to remember the last one, it involved so many other things. It involved the military, it involved food stamps, the IRS, like people was worried about tax time, like the things that people are concerned about. I had a friend the other day, she told me, she was like, this sounds horrible, but if it does not pertain to me, I just don't know. And that's the thing, unless you're a TSO or somebody knows a person that works for TSA or the Coast Guard or FEMA, They're not aware of what's going on.
If you're still bringing the numbers in, it's not going to change anything because, like I said, it's not being broadcasted, and a lot of people don't know. And of course, the upper management and things, nobody's really saying anything about the shutdown.
Are you aware of the government shutdown right now?
Yes, I wasn't before. And part of that, I think, is my own ignorance that's sometimes willful of me just not engaging in the media, especially with today's administration. A lot of the things going on, I have chosen to just remove myself. I feel like by shutting myself off, it's kind of my own protection.
To be really honest, I try not to be so consumed with the news because I think just being Black in America is already enough showing up every day. And I think also with everything happening, it's a lot of information that can really just bog your mind, your spirit down. I think as people that have to show up in high performing places and have to always be on, or even media personalities or creatives, all of that kind of like messes with your creative energy. So I try to filter with what is the top line. And honestly, I didn't realize it until everything else happened.
What is the morale looking like right now?
We're constantly threatened. Then to have other people say, "Oh, well, that's not my problem. Y'all need to work the lanes." You can't say that's not your problem when it is. Then you tell them, "Oh, you should have been more responsible with your check." I'm sorry. Come again and say what?
Not to bash upper management, but I honestly feel like the threats of AWOLs and you have to come in and stuff like that, like there are people who live paycheck to paycheck and can't even make it, like there's no reason why we have to provide documentation as to why I'm missing out for tomorrow.
Or you're told, hey, come in. Basically, your job's being threatened. Hey, you guys got to come in, or you won't get paid for the days you're calling out.
But to know that we have members that are in suits saying, "Oh, you all not working hard enough. You need to work harder." Hold on, wait a second. I could have sworn you was trained under the same SOP, same flexi regiment. Why aren't you out here helping?
But it's like, okay, yes, y'all care about the traveling public, cool. But what about the officers that work here, that were sworn in to protect this place? Are we not cared about enough? Do we have to just stop coming in order for things to happen? When it shouldn't be like that.
Our job's pretty stressful as it is. We deal with thousands of passengers a day, and that's thousands of different energies. It's mentally draining. And to top it off, we missed our first full paycheck today.
I want to get your thoughts on TSA PreCheck being suspended when they tried to do that. We do know that global entry was suspended for a few weeks. PreCheck is funded by the people that are in the program. Do you think that it was wrong for politicians to use TSA PreCheck as kind of like a negotiating?
Yeah, they weaponized it. Absolutely. Because let me tell you something, not that we're going to get too political, but we're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars over here for lobster tails and other things in the government, but you're going to take away from travel and the safety of America, right? If 9/11 has not taught us anything, it is about the overall safety of America, because God forbid something bad happens, it infects the travel industry and tourism, which impacts the global economics of it all. Like after 9/11, nobody wanted to travel. Flights were like dirt cheap. During COVID, nobody wanted to travel. So the moment you show a vulnerability there, or you put people in a position where they don't feel that TSA PreCheck now has a value with them to them anymore because it's now been suspended, I'm not going to want to travel. I don't want to be standing in the general side over there. Like, speed me through.
We found out the day on the floor.
No one even had emails being sent to them. So there was no directive from anybody. The only news that we've heard of as far as TSA closures were yahoo.com.
As a seasoned flight attendant, how do you view this current government shutdown?
I think that they shouldn't have to worry about feeding their kids and putting gas in their car. And so when that is on their minds, they could be distracted when it comes to spotting threats or spotting suspicious people. And I do think that it could take away from the safety and security of our aircraft. I think they're essential to getting people where they need to be in a safe way on time. And I don't think that they should have to worry about basic necessities while they're doing that.
Most people view TSA as just stopping bombs or stuff like that. What are other things that you potentially have seen them stop on aircrafts?
Knives, scissors. There's plenty of different things that are just standard normal things that people might have with them that are dangerous, that could be used in a nefarious way that they do stop. Even like nail files, like pointy nail files, stuff like that. It's just if you're not paying attention and you're not on top of that and those items make it onto my airplane, now I'm at risk.
I spoke to a passenger and they was like, pocket knives are not going to take down a plane. What is your view to that?
I that I'm sorry, I'm speechless on that. It's a knife. It's a sharp knife. I'm not going to give anybody any ideas, but yes, it could very much hurt quite a few people and compromise the safety of an aircraft. But a pocket knife is also something that quite a lot of people just carry on their hip or carry in their pocket. It's normal to have, it's normal to forget about, but it's also not something that should be commonplace in an airport or on an aircraft.
Let's set aside the once in a blue moon situation that could happen as far as bringing some type of explosive device through. Let's bring forward something that's a lot more common, which I know I have one, pocket knives, right? We stop those by the dozens on a daily basis. And we see this quite often, situations on a plane where people are fighting. And I mean, the stewardesses can only do so much. Now, give an individual that's heated and fighting a pocket knife and see what they could do. You could have a death on a plane. There's multiple ways of causing terror. And one term that's thrown around a lot is domestic terrorism. Tell me how assaulting somebody on a plane with a knife or some type of blunt object or whatever, tell me how that's not, it doesn't fit under that.
As a flight attendant, you all also go through security screening. Can you speak a little bit on that?
Yes, we do go through security screening, and there are certain things that frustrate me every day that I can't personally have, but it's for the overall safety of the flying public. We go through checks, smaller airports, we go through a lot more in-depth checks. Larger airports, we have security clearances that allow us to carry larger liquids, but other than that, like I'm held to the same standard that you are or anybody else is.
There's a lot of conversations about TSA potentially being privatized and having each airline be its own security provider. What are your thoughts on privatizing TSA?
I haven't quite heard that, but I don't see where that would be a good idea, only because that changes the structure of airports specifically, but it also changes like one hand's not talking to the other as far as what they allow and don't allow. And if there's not a standard metric for what safe means, I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I wish the funding was a little more privatized so that they could be paid regardless of what the government is up to.
I had an officer tell me, what is the purpose of me coming to work every day? Knowing that at home, I have to figure out we're evicted. I have to move my stuff, my kids' stuff. What am I supposed to do?
Pay us. We have families, we have bills. We need to get paid.
I'm ready for this to be over. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. It's inconvenient. Don't get me wrong, I love my job and what I do, but this is our third shutdown.
We're not pawns. We're actual human beings. Some of us live paycheck to paycheck. So that's already a struggle. Now you're completely taking away our pay for multiple checks, and you still want us to go to work in one of the most stressful lines of work that's out here? How do you think a person is supposed to deal?
I will ask you all to actually take that time to get to know the people. Your decisions do impact the people that actually voted for you all to get into these offices.
Democrat versus Republican, that needs to stop. It needs to be people versus the situation. Address the situation as a whole. It's supposed to be a team, not this person against that person. No, it's a team. You have to take into consideration the other people's lives that are in your hands. We are hundreds of thousands of people a day. And you're not thinking about that? You don't think something's going to happen? Did you not know the statistics on domestic terrorism? Terrorists are homegrown, not come here and then they're going to do something. Domestic terrorism is extremely high in the United States alone. Fix it. Fix it quickly. Fix it now.